Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We are talking about the Guthrie case. Savannah Guthrie has came out with an interview about her mother, Nancy Guthrie, and there is some very shocking things that we have learned in this also heartbreaking interview. Stick around, a lot to talk about on the other side of this.
I've walked through storms in scars and grace, smile through pain with a painted face. They called me too loud, too much, too strong, but honey, that's the reason I belong. Every scar's a scripture, every tear's a hymn. I found my worth where the light grew dim. They tried to break me, but here's a twist. I turned my pain into a clenched fist. I'm an unbreakable woman, born of fire and pearl. I shine like grace in a reckless world. You can test my faith, you can shake my plan, but I'll rise again. Just watch me stand. I've been whispered about and written off, judged by the gloss, not the cause. But God don't build weak hearts from gold. He made me fierce and he made me bold. I bend, I pray, I roar, I rise with mascara, tears and battle cries. Don't need your crown, I forge my own. From ashes, honey, I build my throne. I'm an unbreakable soul, dressed in truth and pearls. The fire don't scare me, it lights my world. You can doubt my voice, but you'll hear my name. I'm holy and hood, and I'm done with shame. For everyone called too much, too loud, too real. You're not to anything. You're exactly what power looks like. I'm an unbreakable soul, through the fight and flame. My scars are stories, my strength, my faith. Faith in my heart, fire in my curls, forever divine. Clutch them pearls.
Really clutch, better tighten the pearls. Drop the cold facts, got the truth for the world. No smoke, no fluff, just the real that we trust. Hold on to your seat, cause I'm coming in clutch. Coming in clutch. Coming in clutch, better tighten the pearls. Dropping cold facts, got the truth for the world. No smoke, no fluff, just the real that we trust. Hold on to your seat, cause I'm coming in clutch. Coming in clutch.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Really do appreciate your time. You could have chosen to be anywhere on YouTube. You have a lot of options, anywhere on the internet, anywhere in the world, and you chose to be right here. I know your time is very valuable, and I do appreciate you spending some time with me. Today is March 26th, 2026, and it is 9:16 p.m. Maybe. Can you feel that? What's going on? Let me check something. in the East Coast of the United States. Very good. There, I hear the applause. So, sorry, guys. StreamYard just changed up some things, and they make it so much easier now, where I can do polls really quickly. It used to take a lot of time, and it also shows up here. That's really cool. And we can do it here. We can do it here. We can do it here. Um, yeah, and then I can hide the poll, I can show the poll, and I can stop the poll, and then I can resume the poll. That's crazy. I like that. I like that. Okay. All right. Good to see you all. Really do appreciate you guys. Tonight we're talking about the Nancy Guthrie case. And okay, mm, Savannah spoke about her mother's disappearance today, and it is absolutely heartbreaking. However, there is some interesting things that she spoke about that we never knew, um, that she talks about, and I don't even know if she was realizing, like, she even, realized what she said. Like, I mean, I'm sure she realized what she said, but she talks about, for instance, Nancy was barefoot, and I would assume, now that you think about it, you would assume she was barefoot. I mean, she was supposed to be in bed, but, there do we absolutely know she was barefoot? The kidnapper could have said, "Put on your shoes." Um, so that it brings some very interesting conversations up, and then we're gonna talk about all of that. Um, and she defends her family. I'm not surprised. I do disagree with, how, like, how am I trying to say it? I disagree with, she knows true crime, you know what I mean? And I have no idea who did this. None of us do, right? None of us know. But there's a lot of weird things around this case, no matter who you look at. You know what I mean? So we're gonna get to a lot of it tonight. So guys, before we get started, you know what I'm going to ask? If you would please do me a big favor and hit that thumbs up button, would be so thankful. Also, share out the live would mean so much as well. After the live stream, if you would consider hyping this video, you get 3 hypes a week. If you would consider hyping one of the videos, would be very thankful. If you don't, they're absolutely free. If you don't use it, you lose it. So really do appreciate that. Also, comment down below, whether it's a justice for Nancy, a smiley face, anything really. Would appreciate that as well. Yeah, yeah, Casey. So many people, so many people. All right. Let me say hello to a few. Hey, Smiley, good to see you. I see you, Casey. Hello, Robin, Pam, Leslie, always keeping it real. Christy, good to see you. Sherry, good to see you. Marilyn, hello. Joe, oh my goodness, I always forget. Don't forget, girl, don't forget that like button. It's so important now. Green eyes, I got a strike. I can share. I got a strike. I can't cheer for a week. Really? Really? Oh, green eyes. Tony, good to see you. Good to see green eyes. Robin, Connie, Summer Breeze, Carol, Kim, hello. Let's see here. Titi, hello, darling. Robin, Christy, Miss Yarika, good to see you. Susan, Miss HLS, bonjour. Passion Flower, what's up? What's up? Summer Breeze, good to see you, dear. Widow Bailey, how you doing, darling? Good to see you. Ori, hello. Shelby, good to see you, hun. Just me, Pugs. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that, Pugs. And good to see you, babe. Christy, Connie, Sassy, peace of Jesus to all. Hello, darling. Aaron, good to see you. LT, Susan, Peggy, Christy, good to see everyone. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. First, we're going to go over her interview. There's two parts. I don't know if we'll get to both, but we'll see. We'll see if we do. I want to thank Tina. Tina, really do appreciate that. You are amazing. Really do appreciate your continued support, Miss Tina. You are a legend, as always. Good to see you, babe. Oh, thank you, Miss Widow. Hello, darling. Thank you so very much for gifting pearl necklaces. That is legendary status, if I do say so myself. Thank you so much, Widow. Really do appreciate your support, truly, my dear friend. Hopefully, you and yours are well. Hey, Wendy, good to see you. Anna Banana. Hello. Hey, Sadie. Okay. Yeah, very interesting things coming out here. So, Savannah sat down with Hoda Kotb and on the Today Show and NBC News, of course, and we're going to go over some of it. It's very sad because my heart really just goes out to Savannah and her family because, you know, like I said, like, can you just imagine? And there's a, I don't want to give it, if you haven't seen it all, I don't want to like spoil it all for you, but there's a really sad part in here where she, you know, potentially even blames herself. And there was reporting on that where they had, you know, Savannah had thought about, oh my God, what if this is someone that did this because of me? I don't think that. I really don't think that. It's after the live, Cheryl. It's after the live. Yeah. Yeah, my darling. And it's like right where the chat and the comments are, you just kind of swipe over a couple times, I think it is. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's get to this.
Mike, I had given Mike for Christmas a boys' trip to go play tennis. And so he had been gone for the weekend. So I took my kids actually to Carson's. So we had a beautiful, fun night together. And then I came home. And really, it just got home at the same time that Mike came home. We were just saying hi, putting down our stuff, and the kids were running around.
So she's speaking about how she learned about her mother missing, like how she had first learned and kind of like what had happened learning up to her mother disappearing.
And my sister called me and I said, is everything okay? Mm-hmm. And she said, no. She said, Mom's missing.
And this would be Annie. Annie calling Savannah saying, Mom is missing. Right?
Said, what? Yeah. What are you talking about? She said, she's gone. And she was in a panic. I was in a panic. I'm like, call 911. Yeah. She's like, I did. We've called them. They're here. And we thought that she must have had like some kind of medical episode in the night, and that somehow, you know, the paramedics had come because the back doors were propped open, you know, and that didn't make any sense. We thought maybe they came and there was a stretcher and they took her out the back. But her phone was there and her purse was there and all her things. Yeah. And it just didn't.
I mean, I can understand that part. If I was, if I didn't truly know what was going on, you know, because you're just trying to rationalize anything to make sense. if you don't know what is going on. Like maybe they took her out the back in like a stretcher or something like that. But wouldn't it be harder to get her out the back with the stretcher?
Make any sense.
Just thinking
So,
about it.
Annie and Tommy had already.
And that's the thing, Crazy Buck, right? I mean, where was like? There's blood here, right? There's blood. The back doors are open. There's blood up front. And this is the thing. The police said something was really wrong here in the beginning. Like something wasn't right inside the house. There was deep concern.
Called all the
Blood
hospitals, but
obviously is
then
one.
I'm like, I'm going to call the hospital. So then I started calling the hospitals, and the police were there and talking to her at the same time, and it was just chaos and disbelief.
Within hours, Savannah was making the long journey home to Tucson.
You saw Annie and Cam when you got to their house. Tell me about that moment.
Just disbelief and hugging each other. And I think we were on the phone with the sheriff and trying to, really make clear from the very early moments, Annie and Tommy were saying this isn't that case that you are used to where someone wanders off. She can't wander off. Mm-hmm. My mom, she was in tremendous pain.
Listen to this.
Her back was very bad. She was trying to, on a good day, she could walk down to the mailbox and get the mail, but most days not.
Okay. So Savannah talks about, which we had known that Nancy had been in pain and all that, but most of the days she couldn't get even the mail. And, that's not very far. She had a bad back and she was constantly in pain. So it wasn't really even an option for the family to say, hey, mom walked away. Right. Because like I always say, your body goes out first or your mind goes out first, right? Like some people will have dementia, but their body is physically pretty good, right? And those are the people that generally wander off. If your body is very frail, but your mind is legit still, you don't really have that concern as much, right? Because they can't really go far. They're not able to.
So there was no wander off. And the doors were propped open.
Yeah.
And there was blood on the front doorstep.
So she says blood on the front doorstep. Now, one thing that my question is a couple of things, actually. She says the doors were propped open. Is that just like, is she just saying the doors are propped open, or does she just mean they were just wide open? Number one. Number two, did Annie and Tommaso, did they see that blood instantly, right in the beginning? If they did, that would be very, very concerning.
And the Ring camera had been yanked off.
Yeah.
And so we were saying, this is
do something.
This is not okay.
Yeah.
This isn't, something is very wrong here.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about what possible?
Yes. But I would wonder, like, did Annie and them say this, like, when she was, like when she was talking to Savannah, like, oh, there's blood at the front door, the back door's open, the camera's missing. Obviously, you're going to be like, something's really wrong here, right? Would A&T see blood that was in? Wouldn't A&T see the blood that was inside the house? You would certainly think if they saw it from the outside.
Could have happened. Like, what could have happened? What went down? Did you?
I think my brother. My siblings are so amazing. My brother, he spent his career in the military and worked in intelligence and is a fighter
I love that
pilot
picture.
and is brilliant. And he saw very clearly right away what this was.
Yeah.
And even on the phone,
Hmm.
when I called him, he knew.
He knew.
And he said, I think she's been kidnapped for ransom. And I said,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Well, why? What? And then, I mean, it sounds so like, how dumb could I be? But I didn't want to believe. I just said, do you think because of me?
That breaks my heart, that part. That breaks my heart right there. And I've never thought this is because of Savannah. Not even a second I've ever thought this was because of Savannah. At all. There would have been more interest in money in the beginning very quickly, in my opinion. And not only would there have been more interest in money, but they would have probably, if it was just like someone that was obsessed with Savannah, they would have done it probably alone, which, this person could have done it alone or whatever. But again, if they wanted money, these ransom, like this person or persons who did this, they're going to show a picture of Nancy, in my opinion.
And I said, I'm sorry, sweetie, but yeah, maybe.
Me too, Wally.
But I knew that.
You did.
I hope not. I mean, we still don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, we don't know anything.
No.
We don't know anything. So I don't know that it's because she's my mom and somebody thought, oh, that girl, that lady has money, we can make a quick buck. I mean, that would make sense, but we don't know. But yeah, that's probably, which is too much to bear. To think that I brought this to her bedside.
That's really tough to hear. To think that I brought this to her bedside. No, Savannah. You didn't. You did not.
That it's because of me.
It's not. Mm-mm.
And I
me.
say, I'm so sorry, Mommy. I'm so sorry.
That's really sad, man.
I'm sorry to
So
my
bad.
sister and my brother and my kids and my nephew and Tommy. And my
When she says Tommy, they mean Tommaso.
brother-in-law. I'm like, so sorry. I'm so sorry. If it is me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I bet
We
you
want to
her
thank
tear
all of
ducts
you
just have
for
to
the
be
prayers for our beloved mom.
In the initial days, you and your sister and brother sat together. In all the despair, you sat and managed to think of words to say. How were you able to do that in that moment?
Well, my siblings are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And we are a unit. And I talked about how brilliant my brother is, but my sister is equally brilliant and also has special powers of intuition and faith and language and depth and heart. And I feel like we came together with all these beautiful gifts that came from our mom and dad and from God. And somehow together we did our best to come up with the words to say. And I haven't posted one thing or said one thing that the three of us haven't decided together. It is surreal. It's how is it possible that we are having to make a video speaking to a kidnapper who took an 84-year-old woman in the dead of night in her pajamas.
Listen, right here.
With no shoes, without her medicine.
Okay, with no shoes, with no medicine, in her pajamas. Right. And we always thought that she was probably in her pajamas or like a nightgown or whatever, right? Now, this is my thing, right? If she didn't have shoes on, right? Because they're going to know if she's missing shoes or not, most likely. Why didn't they use dogs more as well? I wonder if they got any. If she walked barefooted out, they'll probably be able to get her prints in which way she walked out. Now, this is something that very much concerns me now. You remember the blood inside and you remember the blood outside, right? Of the house. She didn't step in any of it if she's barefooted. She didn't step in any of it. No, she didn't step in any of her own blood. That's really concerning to me. Exactly. That kind of makes me think, oh, she was carried out. Oh, she was carried out. In some way, shape, or form. We have those lines as well in the driveway. I think she was carried out to at least the porch or to the sidewalk at least.
This little person. And to beg for mercy.
In the days that followed, multiple notes demanding payment were sent to various media outlets.
The ransom.
So I guess, yeah. So if you type 1, 2, or 3 in chat, it will add to the poll. I think that's how it works now. So if you type 1, 2, or 3, 1, yes, you think A and T are 100% clear in your opinion. 2, no, not yet. And 3 is 50-50.
Notes or ransom requests came. Did you believe those to be real?
There are a lot of different notes, I think, that came. And I think most of them,
okay,
it's
listen
my
to this.
understanding,
One of the
are
most
not
important
real.
parts.
And I didn't see them. But, you know, a person that would send a fake ransom note really has to look deeply at themselves.
Yeah.
To a family in pain. But
Listen
I
right here.
believe the 2 notes that we received, that we responded to, I tend to believe those are real.
Really?
Okay. Now, that's I absolutely agree with Savannah here. I agree with her. A lot of people don't believe any of these notes are real. I do believe 1 or 2 notes are real, in my opinion. Savannah seems to believe that too. The FBI, they were very much interested in certain things that they have still not let us know what was all in those letters, right? Criminal wheeling her out in a wheelchair. I don't think it's a wheelchair. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I think it's a dolly. I think it's a dolly. But Savannah and them, they responded to 2. Now, I don't think this was a ransom. I mean, they might have posed it as a ransom type letter, but again, to me, it was just a distraction. These people trying to distract, throw off what it was really about. I don't believe that they would have waited, of course, this long at all. I mean, how long was it after Nancy was missing? When they responded, it was a long time.
Mm-hmm. When the Ring camera video surfaced and you could see who that person was, just tell me what you thought when you saw those images of the person who took your mother.
I mean, it's just absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just totally terrifying. Mm-mm. And I can't imagine that is who she saw standing over her bed.
Yeah.
I can't.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? No, I can't imagine this motherfucker peering over little Nancy's bed, 84-year-old woman, and just thinking about that as an outsider, let alone a child, is unimaginable.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It's too much.
Yeah.
And I'm glad and grateful to the investigators and the technology companies that were able to find that video. Mm-hmm. To, I hope, at least with people of good heart and compassion, stop the irresponsible and cruel speculation that had started to swirl.
Now she's talking about her family here.
For a minute.
I'm glad that people saw
Yeah.
what came to our door.
Yeah. When you talk about the cruel speculation, the whisper.
Okay, and so she's saying, I'm glad people are seeing what came to our door, meaning this guy, that clearly this is not Tommaso. There's been people that said that they believe it's Tommaso. This is not Tommaso. But again, I agree that that's not Tommaso, but I also still wonder. I can't help it. I still wonder. There's still a lot of things that to me that's unanswered.
Somebody in your family. How did you weather that?
It's unbearable.
Yeah.
And it piles pain upon pain. There are no words. There are no words. I don't understand. I'll never understand. And no one took better care of my mom than my sister and brother-in-law. And no one protected my mom more than my brother. And we love her, and she is our shining light. She's our matriarch. She's all we have.
Savannah and her family stayed together in Arizona for weeks as the
poll.
media coverage
New
grew
poll.
more intense.
We had to move houses many times
1, 2, or
because
3 in chat.
people came, and not everyone is respectful, unfortunately. You know, And there was a night we had to leave in the dark in the desert,
That's terrible.
holding hands, me and my sister and brother and I, get into a car waiting for us to, because the people outside were closing in. So we found a place that was safe, and then we couldn't really leave too much. So like those days are a blur.
Yeah.
Crying and praying.
How did your family feel about the way the investigation was conducted?
Listen to this carefully.
It's still going.
Yeah.
Listen to this, because one thing, if I was Savannah in the family, I would be very unhappy with how this investigation went, because of the sheriff, mainly.
And
Yeah.
people have worked tirelessly. And we see that. But we need answers.
They've worked tirelessly, but they need answers. Absolutely.
We cannot be at peace without knowing. And someone can do the right thing. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And our hearts are focused on that.
To me, I love that picture. That's such a cute picture. Brandy, I understand what you're saying. I really do understand what you're saying. Just imagine caring for the elderly mother-in-law, your mother-in-law, and this happens, and then people blame you. There's no evidence to support it, in my opinion. I'm rarely 50-50. You guys know that I'm very, very rarely 50-50. Because I don't like 50-50 generally. But on this case, I do understand that it's typically family or friends, typically, overwhelmingly, actually, or someone you know. And to me, there's no more evidence to say that they are involved than they're not involved, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And for me, there's questions. I cannot be fake about it. There still is questions. Why did they keep going there? Why did the FBI go over there that one day, rush over there, started going to their neighbors, started going in their backyard, started going in campers, had over 150 agents out there? Why did they take stuff from the home? The crime didn't happen there. The crime did not happen there. And it's weird. It's very, very weird to me. They had to leave Annie's house because police were going to search it. I understand them searching it. The forensics is a whole nother thing to me. The car that they kept longer than anybody else's. A lot of things. There's just a lot of things. So I truly don't know. And I get that. you can't imagine someone in your family doing something like that. You know what I mean? You can't imagine. I hope the truth comes out. I really, really hope the truth comes out, you know? Hey, Deb, thank you so much, love. Appreciate ya, my dear. Thank you so much. Justin question, the brother said to Savannah that he believed that this was a kidnapping for ransom because of who she was. He said this before any ransom note surfaced. What is the meaning of that? Love you. Good question. That's really interesting. The only thing I can think of, Deb, is just because he was in intelligence. But here's also the thing: we don't. When is the last time in recent uh, memory do you see ransom letters anymore? That's like a thing of the 50s and 60s and before. You don't see ransom letters anymore. People don't do that in America. They just don't do that. I do understand, there's wackadoodles out there who get attached with who they see on television or on camera, and they're having their own mental health issues and they get obsessed and all of that. I get that. Um but I just don't think this is that. This is someone who is very skilled. Whoever the brains of this operation is, in my opinion, they're very skilled at messing with cameras, apparently. If this dude, blacked out the neighborhood essentially, um, again, how did he know the cameras were off in the house, or did he turn the cameras off in the house? How did those two cameras not work on the 11th and the 31st or the 1st? How? It's got to be someone that's been in that house, or just knows a lot more. It has to be. I can't see it another way. You know? Thank you so much, Deb. Appreciate you, babe. Good to see you. Hey, Cinz. How you doing, babe? Thank you so much. Appreciate you, love. What do you think about all the ransom letters at the beginning? Love you. I think most of them are BS. BS. Ransom letters, I do agree, like I said, with Savannah, that maybe one or two of them might be authentic, but I don't believe that they're truly for ransom. I think they write it like, hey, we're writing this as a ransom letter, but it's not really a ransom letter. It's just to kind of throw them off. If they supposedly knew certain things that nobody else would know. And those things have still not been put out yet. Right. And I'm sure that the reason they haven't put that out is because if this goes to trial, they will connect this person with saying, hey, we know this happened inside the house. Right. So I do think maybe one or two of them did come from the person or persons, but I don't think that they are legit ransom letters. Like, I don't think this was for ransom, just in my opinion. Um, the guy that's in a band that got arrested, um, out of all the people or out of all the ransom letters, right? That guy did the thing that people do in ransom letters. He called Tommaso and Annie. That's what people do. People who kidnap someone and ask for money or ransom letters, they're not there to um make nice with the cops or anything else. They want just the money. You know, first thing is in a ransom letter. You call the cops, they're dead. That's not allegedly what's in these ransom letters, right? So I do believe maybe one or two of them, but I don't not quite sure about the rest. But there is some very interesting things when it comes to the one guy who, and this is the other thing, the FBI said that they would arrest everyone that wrote like a fake ransom letter. We haven't seen that yet. Haven't seen that yet. We just know of what, one or two arrests, maybe? All right, guys, we're going to go to our friend and yours, deception detective, the big DD. Listen to this. Link is in the description. Mods, if you would be so kind and drop deception detective link in chat as well. Make sure you sub up the deception detective. Consider becoming a member over at his channel. He would love to have you guys.
Extraordinary source inside that group of folks that was working on that investigation. And they entirely had their focus towards the brother-in-law, whether it's right or wrong. And by the way, I have taken so much shit online for people saying it's my theory. Not my theory. I actually have a different idea of what I think happened, and it is not that. What I'm reporting on is what I heard their theory was. They did all sorts of things on day 1, 2, and 3 that indicated they thought it was someone within the Guthrie family.
Ironically, this update may do the best job of explaining why Nancy Guthrie still hasn't been found. And no, it's not because Ashley Banfield has cracked the case. It's actually because she's displaying the same sort of self-delusion as Sheriff Nanos. So in today's video, let's break it down, because once you know what to look for, you'll start seeing it everywhere in this investigation, from Ashley Banfield to Sheriff Nanos to Savannah Guthrie herself. I'm Deception Detective, an attorney trained in statement analysis. This channel exposes lies and manipulation. So if that's your thing, hit subscribe. For early access to new videos, over 60 exclusive videos, and other.
Thank you so much, Jetty. Appreciate you, my friend. Hey, Justin, love your channel. I don't understand what's the point of propping open back door if they took her out the front. Seems staged. LA guys sus too. I understand. So what is interesting is, and that's, I questioned this a second ago when Savannah said the back doors was propped open, right? Propped open. Okay. What do you think of? Tell me, what do you guys in chat think of when you think of a door propped open? I think of it as like putting a block in front of the door, or a chair, or something like that, so it can't close. A wedge. Yes, Janice. That's what I think of personally. Now, maybe she using different words. Maybe it was just open. But when she said propped open, I agree. I So if, let's say, this person, if okay, if the back doors was just wide open, I don't think that the person was already in the house, most likely, when Nancy got there. But because I would think the person would have came in, closed the door, waited for hours until Nancy was home and asleep. So, and generally, when someone is breaking into a house, right, they're usually pretty quiet, all of that. So the back doors, if they were legitimately propped open, um, that could be staged. It absolutely could be. Absolutely. They did things around the house that now the front door, Nancy was taking out that front door. She was taking out that front door. Um, if they took her out the back door, there is way more obstacles for them to overcome, if you will, to carry her out the patio porch, the grass, the uh, the flower beds, the sidewalks, the gates, the driveway, right? So I don't think that they carried her out the back. You would have to explain the blood in the hallway, at the door, outside the door, on the sidewalk, right? So, did they remove her bed for clues? They didn't remove any furniture that I'm aware of.
The cool perks, consider becoming a channel member. Link in description. As I said in the intro, I think self-delusion, specifically cognitive dissonance, is the main reason this case hasn't been solved yet. But just in case you haven't seen my earlier videos in this series, or that logic doesn't quite make sense yet, don't worry, I'll explain everything in a minute once we get into this update, because I think it might make more sense if I start off by showing you an example of cognitive dissonance in real time. Here's a clip of Ashley Banfield talking about a different unsolved abduction case where the police cleared the family, just like the Guthries. See if you can spot the self-delusion.
John, I'm not going to lie. I was so disheartened to see how many people out there still believe you had something to do with it, despite the fact, and let me repeat this loud and clear,
I
that the Boulder
remember
police.
So, deception detective, there's a new, I'm gonna pop this up. New, 1, 2, or 3, do you think, Nancy was taken out either the front door, put 1, back door, enter 2 in chat, or 3, unsure? Uh, deception detective, he's, has his opinion definitely on the JonBenet Ramsey case, and this is so interesting for me because, uh, people just told me to talk about, to play this video. Um, I don't have there's only 2 cases that I've ever really been not have an opinion on, and one is JonBenet. I do have opinions on both, don't get me wrong, but I'm not firm in them like I normally am. One is JonBenet and, the other one is Nancy Guthrie.
Everybody else involved.
And, for those of you that don't know, I have a little small, tie to the JonBenet Ramsey case. My, Patsy, she is from where I grew up, and my and, uh, John, he has, family here where I live as well, and, my dad was, very good friends with, one of, John Ramsey's, family members, and when I was a kid, I used to go over to, my dad's friend, Mr. Ramsey's, and his wife, Debbie's house, as a kid, and when Jean-Benet was murdered, this was right at the time when I was a kid, and I remember my dad and Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey, my dad's friends, talking about this. It's very interesting. And Patsy, she was Miss West Virginia. She has a very good family.
In investigating the murder of your daughter, they have cleared you over and over and over again. And they've gone so far as to apologize.
And this is the thing I'll say about this, and I'm pretty neutral on the Ramsey case. Again, I think there's very weird things that in the Ramsey case that I still can't get over, but just like I think there's and I think I know how Deception's going to probably talk about this here. For instance, in the Ramsey case, the letter, it's almost a freaking novel that was at the bottom of the steps where they only have, or they're, which is it's a huge letter. We've covered it before with John rather's bonus check, the exact amount. And it's really rare. How would that person know that? That wasn't family or very close. You get what I mean? How does someone that would not be John or Patsy or a coworker, someone really close, how would they know? Just like in my opinion, Nancy's case. How do they know about these certain cameras? How do they know where they're off, that there's no subscription, that kind of thing?
Apologize for having left you under that
I get
umbrella
it.
of suspicion for so long, to the point where Patsy died before she was cleared from that umbrella of.
And I remember when Ashley did this. This was I want to say this interview was like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, right before Ashley left News Nation, and they weren't really officially cleared that I'm aware of. There was this one thing that came out, but there's not really an official clear.
Suspicion. So for anybody watching, if you're one of the commenters, do your research before you make such painful comments about John and his family.
Ashley Banfield did that interview with John Ramsey just weeks before she publicly accused Tommaso Cioni of being the prime suspect in his mother-in-law Nancy Guthrie's kidnapping, which is why I think it's such a perfect example of cognitive dissonance, because cognitive dissonance at its core is the lies we tell ourselves in order to protect our self-esteem and our worldview. In this case, I think Ashley Banfield either said she thinks John is innocent really early on, or knows him personally, or just enjoys being able to get him onto her show for interviews in exchange for ad revenue. So whether she's aware of it or not, she cherry picks information, disregards counter evidence, and does plenty of other mental gymnastics in order to see him that way. But because she doesn't feel the same way about Tommaso Cioni, she's able to.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing that we all do every single day, right? Like, we might not be as accepting of something someone does or says, because we just don't like them for whatever reason. But someone that we like will do a mental gymnastic in our head and say, well, theirs is different, right?
To look at him more logically and do the very things she was just shaming people for doing about John Ramsey to Tommaso. And here's the biggest irony of all when it comes to cognitive dissonance. Even though it might be impossible to detect in yourself, it's really easy to see in others. So Megan and Ashley point out some great examples of it when it comes to Sheriff Nanos and Savannah Guthrie in this update. So without further ado, let's watch it and break it down as we go.
On the side of it wasn't a stalker of Savannah's or somebody who is obsessed with Savannah who took Nancy. You have the Sheriff Nanos statement this week that I know that he thinks he knows what the motivation is, and that he's only grown more certain since day one on what the motivation is. And oh, by the way, the community is in danger. Like,
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
What?
Wait.
So
we're
if
in
the
week
community's in
6.
danger, it's not somebody who's a stalker of Savannah in his mind.
Here's the quote. We believe we know why he was here. We believe we know why he was here. And we have known since day one. Well, then why did you raid 2 random people's homes? And
Yes.
why did you tell everyone on day 2 there's no cause for alarm? Those are my words, but effectively the message in the news conference on February 2nd was there's nothing to be worried about. There's no danger to the
I agree with Ashley right here.
community. Well, if this week you're telling us lock your doors, and yes, he could strike again, then what the hell was that message on day 2?
Like it or not, Megan and Ashley are correct about Sheriff Nanos. His contradictions don't make sense unless you look at it through the angle of cognitive dissonance. Like I said earlier, we lie to ourselves in order to protect our worldview as well as our self-esteem. And personally, if you've seen my other videos about Sheriff Nanos, you'll know I think his self-esteem needs a lot of protection. Apparently for him, solving the case isn't quite good enough. He also needs us all to know that he knew the right answer since day one. Specifically, I think he sowed the seeds of cognitive dissonance when he made this public statement. The Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects.
I think, in my opinion, that was pressure. I think that was pressure for him to say that. Again, the day before, he said, nobody is cleared, not even the family. The next day, this quote comes out from Sheriff Doofy. The Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, have been cleared as possible subjects. To suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. The Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple. Again, if you're going to go ahead and clear people, then you should go ahead and clear the dailies. You should go ahead and clear, what's his name? Carlos. Right? How did you clear them, Nanos? How did you clear them? If they're not involved in any way, shape, or form, then tell us how you cleared them, because it will not affect the case whatsoever. We cleared them because we've got them on camera all night, and there's nothing with their phones, or whatever you want to say. I mean, you're the one that cleared the crime scene within 48 hours and then told people you'll let the courts worry about, them having to come back and all that. Again, if you've cleared Tommaso and them, then clear the dailies and clear Carlos. Let's get with it, Sheriff Nanos.
To suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. The Guthrie family are victims.
Well, it is cruel. If they're all have, none of them have zero, zilch, nada to do with it. But it's also cruel to let people even be thinking that there's a possibility, because you guys went in there with a warrant to Carlos's home, to the Tommaso's home, when they perhaps might not even know the Guthrie family or have any ties in any way, shape, or form. It's not easy for them either. I mean, I think they could still be back. I'm not through with it yet. I'm just talking as a matter of principle. Just a matter of principle. I think there's some weird things that line up with all three of them, to be honest with you. But there's other things that line up that's very weird in this case.
Plain and simple. Basically, after making a statement like that, kind of like Ashley Banfield saying she believes John Ramsey is innocent, it's really difficult to walk that back because it would require publicly admitting that you were wrong in something you're supposed to be an expert in. And most people just cannot do that. And that's a huge problem when you're the one leading an investigation. Remember, he didn't just say accusing the family is wrong, he also said it's cruel. So whether he's even able to recognize it or not, if evidence presents itself suggesting the family might be guilty, his cognitive dissonance might kick in very hard because even considering that evidence.
No. They're not required. They're absolutely not required, and I understand that, Mike. But they're not going to share anything with the family either until, I mean, this is the thing. Even Savannah said, "We know what you know. We know what you know." Like they don't tell family or anything until Nancy's found and someone's got charges. But he can go ahead and he says one day that they're not cleared, the next day that they are cleared, and that the next day or the same day after he said that they were cleared, he said they are cleared, comma, for now. You know what I mean? It's very bizarre.
Might mean he has to face the prospect of not only publicly saying that he was wrong, but also publicly saying by his own logic that he's cruel. But it actually gets even worse because they're about to play a clip of him doing a recent interview. Listen to this and then we'll break it down.
There is something that's come out in the investigation that gives you a sense of motive here and why this person did this?
You know, I think it's come out from day one. I think from day one, we had some strong beliefs about what happened, and those beliefs haven't diminished.
What the hell does he mean by that? What the hell does he mean by that? Because he said they were stumped, had no idea. But this hasn't diminished from day one, that they kind of know, where this is heading, what direction it is. What? It's beyond ridiculous.
Do you believe it was a burglary gone wrong?
I'm not going to get into those theories. We have our beliefs. Everybody else has theirs.
Nano says he's intentionally with.
No. You don't need beliefs, sir. The police and FBI doesn't work on beliefs. They work on evidence.
Holding their theory and other details in the case, citing the integrity of the investigation.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Well, I just, I had to pick my jaw up off the floor when I saw the day one comment. We believe we've known since day one, because on day 2 and 3, I was talking to an extraordinary source inside that group of folks that was working on that investigation. And they entirely had their focus towards the brother-in-law, whether it's right or wrong. By the way, I have taken so much shit online for people saying it's my theory. Not my theory. I actually have a different idea of what I think happened, and it is not that. What I'm reporting on is what I heard their theory was, what they were doing on day 1 and 2 and 3. And it was not what Sheriff Nanos just said. They did all sorts of things on day 1, 2, and 3 that indicated they thought it was someone within the Guthrie family. They towed a car under warrant, for God's sake, and they shut down the search for Nancy, and they closed up shop at the crime scene, and then they told the whole neighborhood, "You're all safe. There's nothing to worry about here."
And then they went over to
Annie
Nancy's house.
Yes. So this guy, to tell us that he's known since day 1 that there's some terrible boogeyman out there. But on day 1, he's treating Tommaso like the boogeyman. And that is what the police were doing, not what Ashley was doing. I had a source telling me where that investigation was, and that is where it was. So this guy, it's sad.
Once again, I agree with Ashley Banfield. And remember, just because I
agree with her there as well. I don't think, listen, investigations can change. Right? They can change wherever it's leading, or they'll run something until there is nothing else to run with it. It either falls apart or it keeps going, the evidence. And I don't, and Sheriff Nano says, well, we've been pushing, we've thought something since day one. And this is the thing that the public seems to can't get over, and I understand why, is number one, it's usually someone, the family, friends, someone very close. Number two, it was the same day virtually that after she was dropped off by her son-in-law, just a few hours later. Number two, they kept Nancy, or they kept Tommaso's and Irani's car longer than anybody else. They kept going over and over and over for search warrants at their house, taking things out, being there for hours at a time, bringing things in paper bags and all of that. So it's but again, they also did this. They also went to the Daly's home. They also went to Carlos's home. And for me, the only thing I could think of is, damn, are they linked? Are they linked somehow? Because either you've got some really unprofessional law enforcement that is just doing warrants for virtually not much. And to get a warrant, it requires a lot, right? Who, what, when, where, how. You got to put on that warrant. Who this person is, why you believe it, where it, whatever you're looking for is in the house, or why you virtually believe that they have the evidence of whatever. It's a very big step. It's a very big feat to
don't agree with her about John Ramsey doesn't mean I have to disagree with her about everything. In this case, everything she said made perfect logical sense. On the first day of an investigation, it's really unbelievable that the sheriff would be able to rule out every family member. The far more likely explanation, he's insecure about how he's handled this case so far, so he wants to portray an image of him not only being able to solve it, but having already solved it ever since day one. And
yeah, I agree with that as well. I agree with that. I think this man is highly, Sheriff Doofy is highly, highly insecure. And yeah, he's taken a lot of criticism. But damn, he's not helped himself in any way, shape, or form to this is the thing. Like, when you're a sheriff, you're driving the ship here, right? And when you are saying almost like double entendres, like things with the things that are complete opposites, very inconsistent things, of course people are going to judge that, right? The buffoon wants credit, sure does. Yes. Yeah. Hey, Michelle, thank you, baby. Appreciate you very much. Very generous. Thank you, love. Sounds like Sheriff has his beliefs, not facts. This is not a typical case to solve. Extremely hard cases can't be solved that easily. This will be solved by skilled investigators willing to go beyond the norm. Well stated. I agree with that. And I think that I think this was already a very difficult case, high profile, very difficult. And the fact that you have an egotistical bully who's a sheriff who has a chip on his own personal, in my opinion, shoulder for the FBI and can't seem to get over that for the betterment of victims like Nancy, has really made it tough for this case. Has really made it tough for this case. And has really bogged things down, bogged them down for morale. I'm sure for the investigators, they're human, has bogged it down with sharing, in my opinion, information, has bogged it down with the labs. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I was thinking today because again, I truly have no idea in this case. Um, have I crossed you know, T and A off my list? I have not. But I was thinking today, like, what if, heaven forbid, they would be involved? Would Savannah believe it? Would she believe it? I don't know. Like, they would have to probably really show her.
That solution coincidentally affirms everything he said about the family being innocent, even though I personally haven't seen any evidence at all that Tommaso and Annie are innocent. I haven't even seen them deny being involved. In other words, to
That's
reiterate,
true.
if the leader of an investigation isn't able to look at it with clear eyes and instead has to look through it through a filter of ego, worldview, and the desire to be correct, it's very unlikely that the case will be solved. On that note, it's also not great when the one family member I think may be innocent, Savannah Guthrie, is showing cognitive dissonance about the most likely suspects, her sister and her husband Tommaso. If this New York Post headline is true that she's livid over the accusations against Tommaso, that's pretty revealing. After all, if she had enough proof to be convinced that he's innocent, she could always just show that to the public and shut down the speculation immediately, rather than getting livid about it. Or he could always just step.
Do you mean Tommaso and Annie Pugs? Justin, what do they stand to gain with no body? Who do you mean? Do you mean Tommaso and Annie? You see, the thing about the word gain, right? I mean, you hear that a lot on here, like, well, who has the most to gain? Sometimes murder is about gain, right? But sometimes it is about ego and just being fucking mad. You can't stand them. You have been wronged, you perceived to be wronged by them. Sometimes they know information that could be harmful. So I don't know if it's and we just do not know someone's will, someone's financials as well either. You know what I mean? I wonder if the family had access to inside camera. Good question. What's up? Thank you so much. If you listen to all of the interview today, I didn't play it all. We just played one part. Savannah says that they took care of Nancy daily, and Nancy didn't want to move. That she wanted to have her independence, and the family gave her that, even though she was, not in good health and she didn't get around good, but they still gave her that. And so to me, and this is just speculation from my part, but someone who has cameras inside of their own home and someone who lives alone and is elderly, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't they have uh, the to be able to check on their mother or their mother-in-law? You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you check on them? That's what the whole thing is for, right? I mean, if you they're called granny cams or nanny cams or whatever. Um, if someone falls or whatever, to me, absolutely, they would have access to those cameras. But that's just my opinion. I mean, what other reason would those cameras be there? I mean, Nancy doesn't really. I mean, some people might have them for their pet or whatever, but I don't know.
up and sue his accusers for defamation. The fact that neither has happened and she's still livid is pretty revealing. To me, it simply suggests that Savannah is experiencing cognitive dissonance about the capacity of her sister and her husband of doing
Be
something
careful,
truly
Pam.
evil to her mother. It's
Love
not
you,
something
baby.
she wants to believe is true, which makes sense. So her brain, in order to protect her worldview, is ignoring it. In fact, it's lashing out at anyone who even suggests it. In other words, I think Savannah and Sheriff Nanos are experiencing the exact same cognitive dissonance about the family, the same way Ashley Banfield is experiencing cognitive dissonance about John Ramsey. All right, let's pick up where we left off because Ashley's about to give us her new theory of what happened in the case, and you'll see it is another sign of cognitive dissonance.
Jules, I agree. I agree. Hey, y'all, Justin, I walk through my grandma's house when I drop her off and I check under the doors, the windows to be locked. Why didn't they do that? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I did the same with my mama, like my grandmother who raised me. I would check under her beds and everything, but different families do different things. You know what I mean? I mean, that for some, this is the thing. For my mother-in-law, if she couldn't make it to the mailbox on most days, right? Which is what Savannah just said. I would walk her in. I would walk her in at least to make sure she got to her chair or her bed fine. Maybe they're not like that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you say that you have a different theory, what's your different theory?
Well, it's just sort of simple. I think so often in mystery, we tend to go to all sorts of lengths to imagine what happened. And generally speaking, the answers are pretty simple. I think this was just probably, a sick individual who had sick intentions against a vulnerable person. And it happens. And I know it's really hard to talk about it because this is, of course, a public figure's mom. So we sort of feel like you said in the segment, we all feel like we kind of know her now.
See, I don't know if sometimes this is just a news thing, to say but of course this is a sick person, but this is just not done at random. Don't forget where she lives. And the days before she went missing, they were stalking her. This is not just some rando person.
Because we've all seen the segments. But the truth is, sick people do sick things to vulnerable adults and children. And I think that Nancy might have been targeted by someone like that. And in every other case, we do. In every other case, we do talk about it. In this particular case, we have not.
You're right. It's probably because Savannah's famous and half the media knows her. I mean, NBC's own coverage has stayed, 20 feet away from anything involving Annie and Tommaso, which also seems irresponsible to me. I mean, they may have absolutely nothing to do with this, but they were the last ones to see her. Their house has been searched, we think repeatedly, but certainly for several hours in the evening, in the dark of night. They towed their car. That's absolutely fair game when you're reporting about the facts of this case. And not only has NBC steered clear of it, but Jake Tapper of CNN was out there shaming people for even discussing it. It's like, I'm sorry, you're friends with her, but that doesn't mean you skew your coverage of the case, whether it's on this issue or the issue of family members who could potentially have been involved.
Well, look, Jake, whatever, he's not on this beat. Let me just put it that way. He doesn't know the arcane aspects of this story.
Besides the irony of them chastising Tapper for shaming them for accusing the family, which is exactly what Ashley Banfield was doing to people who accused the Ramseys, the irony of this.
Yeah, he's got a point. He's got a point. Dee Dee's got a point. Right? Because there's not been, that I've seen, I think one time, like a few years ago, someone said that they were cleared, but it wasn't like an official clearance or anything like that. And we're all very passionate about what we believe, right? Oh, this person couldn't have done it. Oh, this person absolutely done it, or whatever, He's right. Deb, thank you so much, darling. Appreciate you. If I was a journalist interviewing Savannah, I would have asked, Savannah, are you going to be doing any searching for your mom? Are you going to hire search teams to help bring her home? A lot of people's asked that. She has put up, I think, she has offered like $1 million reward, and that hasn't had anybody talk. Still, nothing to talk. Which is very, very weird. Why? Okay. All right. I want to go right here, and I want to go to, thank you for that, Deb. I appreciate you, darling. We're going to go to Mr. Inton now. He sat down, link is in description. Mods, if you don't mind dropping Brian's channel. He sat down with, I can't think of her name right now. You'll know her in just a second.
Good to see you as always.
Are you having a good day?
I'm having a long day already, even though it's early, but
Yeah.
it's all good. Yep.
Okay,
Started super early, but getting it done.
Well, thank you for making the time for me. I was just commenting your necklace. I was wondering if it was like an FBI. It looked like almost a sheriff's star.
It's actually the Chicago police badge.
Yeah, not only that, he has denied searchers.
They have a star, and this was my sister's, and she worked Chicago police for her whole career. And then when she passed away, her kids were kind enough to give it to me, and I just absolutely cherish it.
Well, it looks really nice. It's
just like I loved my sister Sue. She was a lunatic, but in the best possible way.
Awesome. So I wanted to ask you a couple about some of these new developments with Nancy Guthrie. First of all, hey guys, I was in Arizona for almost a month and a half, and my eating habits.
Hold on one second. Let me.
It's just so sad, the part where she's talking about how she's been waking up in the middle of the night thinking about what her mom woke up to. What was your takeaway?
That was really hard to watch, even though it was only a few minutes long. And it's a multiple of 5,000, what I've been saying since the beginning, which is I wake up some nights wondering, where is Nancy? And I've said since the very beginning, the moment I saw those images of that porch pirate, I just thought, oh my God, what she must have awakened to. It's unbelievable. And now that we find out that her family says that she did in fact leave her doors unlocked, or at least the back doors, I suspected maybe something with, owning a dog all those years. And I said it to you before on the show that she may have left it open to let the dog out or whatever. But I really, it goes, at the end of this, let's go over some more tips for people that are living alone and want to remain safe, because I've got a whole new list. I mean, I only gave a couple of things last time you asked me.
Yeah, remind me at the end, because I do want to ask you that, because a lot of people commented when we did that video.
And the thing that I've always said, like, if Nancy is not alive, I hope she didn't I hope she didn't even know that someone was over top of her. That's the best imaginable outcome. If she's not alive, she didn't make it alive, that there was just no fear. She didn't know what happened, and she went to be with the Lord.
That it was really, really helpful. Even some of the stuff that it's like, oh, everybody must know that, you just forget. So I'm gonna ask you that at the end. But yeah.
Yeah, imagine this fucking creep over you. You know what I mean? Can't imagine. I love Maureen. Yeah, I love Brian too.
When you've worked with like I'm just thinking about Savannah right now. I mean, obviously there's a plan for her to get back to work, but when you've worked with victims, I mean, with the not knowing, I mean, it'd be hard enough to lose your mom and know what happened, but the not knowing, like, how do you get through that?
I worked with a lot of victims for cases throughout my career, but the ones that I really worked closely with were the family members of the victims of the Colonial Parkway murders. And even though it was a TV show we were there for weeks and weeks. We spent a great deal of time with the victims' families and just talking about what these crimes did to their parents, how it just destroys whole families. And I don't mean destroys.
Well, I mean, you think about, you think about it so deeply, right? Like your mom, like what it must have been like for her, how scary it must have been. What did she say? What did she do? Did she say anything? Did she do anything? And you go over that and it tortures you. It literally fucking tortures you. And somehow you have to make peace with that or it will eat you alive. And I've talked to so many families with missing kids or missing loved ones. And all of them says one thing. The not knowing is the hardest part. The not knowing where they are. If they it's not been solved or they've not been found. All of them say that. That's a theme I have heard since I've been doing this. All of them say it's just not knowing where they are and what happened. You know what I mean? Hey, Karen. But, I don't know if he's saying that, Karen. I think the thing is, like, you don't really know until you know. You know what I mean? Like, you can go back to where you're from, if you moved away or whatever, and you can be gone for years and you can still like talk to your family or see your family every, a couple times a year or whatever, but life changes for both of you and you become two different people, right? And you just don't know. You can really think like, oh my God, they would never, ever, ever. But you just don't know until you know. You know what I mean? I think that's what he means.
Like everyone stops loving each other. I mean, your mother is completely broken. Your dad, when they lose a child, your father, the same way. The marriage is never the same because they can't seem to connect. Because this type of thing is so
I agree,
heavy.
Lolo.
It's like having an elephant sit on your back. 24/7. It's so heavy, and you can feel it when you interact with these people. It's really it's oftentimes the hardest part of the job is just seeing that and then feeling what it does to you too when you're involved. But for Savannah, I mean, it doesn't take a psychic to see what she's feeling. It's everywhere. I mean, you could feel it through the screen. I wish there was something I could do to help her. So many of us do, and I know you do too, Brian. Oh, and one of them would be to find the sons of bitches that did this to her mother and just, ugh.
Yes, Maureen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think about her job too. You know, she has to go through all this in such a public way and then going back to work, what that's going to be like for her, even just because it is the Today Show and it's kind of a lighthearted show. I mean, they do cooking segments. It's not really meant, it's not a depressing show. You know what I mean? It's a morning show. So I just wonder what that's going to be like for her to have to kind of try to, I guess,
Brian,
put this to the side.
there's a lot of victims that go through this that have to go back working at McDonald's or working at the DMV where
Yeah.
they're dealing with the public all the time and they're just on the verge of tears, sometimes years. Or, you know, my cousin who's a teacher who went through it and her husband who's a physical therapist who's, you know, have gone through the loss of a child or some loved one. It's hard. I mean, you know, when my mom passed very suddenly and I had to go back to work, it was not easy. But
Feel like dying inside.
my mother wasn't
You
ripped
really
out of her
do.
bed in the middle of the night. And, you know, God knows what happened to her. At least we knew where she was. We were able to go through the motions of saying goodbye to her and honoring her and celebrating her life. Those rituals are very, very important to moving forward.
Yes, that's right. You know, it's bad enough when you lose someone to, you know, illness or whatever. But again, the not knowing and just the tragic way of just living 84 years on the planet and getting through that, all of it, and you've been through, you know, good things and bad things, births and deaths and all of this, and some motherfucker comes to your house at 2 o'clock in the morning and takes you away from your family and the family doesn't know. It's awful. Hey, what's up? Thank you, baby. Sorry, I didn't see that. I apologize, my love. I'm wondering if Savannah, as attorney, she put someone that is related to Porch Pirate. Oh, I see what you mean. Which that's why he chose Miss Nancy, like meaning she was like she is an attorney, but like she might have pissed someone off in the past with whatever. I don't think she I think she did more corporate stuff. If I can't remember. I'm pretty sure she did was like yeah, I don't think she was that kind of an attorney, if I recall correctly. Um I want to say it was like corporate or something like that. It wasn't I don't think it was anything with like criminals. You know what I mean? Uh in the past. But her husband does corporate. Yeah, it might be what she did.
Forward in a healthy
I'll
way.
check on that.
This not knowing, as
Could be, you never know.
pointed out a minute ago, is just impossible. It's just so hard.
Do you think Savannah speaking out this way now could lead someone to come forward? Do you think it could make a difference?
Nope.
Well, I would like to think so.
Nope. If $1.2 million in cash ain't gonna make him talk, this ain't either. Justin, I liked what you said last night about even if she left the doors unlocked, no one has the right to enter her home. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, there's just boundaries in life, right? It doesn't matter if there's doors are locked flung open, wide open, it doesn't matter. Um, just like when someone says a woman is wearing something skimpy, uh, there's that excuse like, well, why do you think they get art or something? Look at the way she's dressed. Makes nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. There's just boundaries in life and some things, and it doesn't matter.
And I'm sure there are people out there that know something, but if you're closely associated with these sons of bitches, you have to be pretty cold-hearted yourself, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't be so jaded, but what in the actual, why have
I
you
like
not
her.
come forward already? You've got money on the table. So even if you don't have a conscience, you can get $1.2 million. Just make a call. You're never going to have a life-changing opportunity like this again as long as you live. Just do what is right.
Exactly.
Just looking at that poor woman, how can you not want to help her?
Yeah.
Unless you don't have a heart and you don't have a soul.
The other videos we saw of her were they felt a little more scripted. Obviously, it was early on in the investigation, and when I was in Arizona, we knew that the FBI was going in to help her actually shoot them. And this is a longer form interview that's coming out over several days. Do you think she's able to just talk about what she wants to now, or do you think the FBI is still involved in helping her craft her answers in an interview like this?
I think a lot of what she's said so far, and which we'll see that she says tomorrow or whenever they let this out. But I think a lot of it is from her heart. But I think there will be things in there that the FBI has strongly suggested that she mention, because it's every time she goes on, you have to know that the offender or offenders are watching.
Yep.
Unless they're south of the border, because as remember when you went down there and no one even heard of her? It was crazy.
Yeah. I'm still very curious if Mexico will end up having something to do with this. And, I mean, obviously not like the government. I just mean like someone going back to Mexico. And I found it just strange how quickly authorities said we have no reason to believe anyone went to Mexico or that Mexico was involved. Like, how I still don't understand why they said that. How do they know that if they don't know anything?
Well, they probably felt that the people were too comfortable on the front porch, that they knew too much. They had to be nearby.
Why did
Why
did they say we've known kind of since day one where this is pointing?
Route that is that neighborhood is hard to figure out. That's the GPS and the signal strength is just non-existent. So, I mean, I guess there were all kinds of things they were putting together, and they probably had a good couple of leads at that point. But now those leads have all dried up. So now it looks like anything's in play. But if you look at her statement from the other day or whenever that was, she said that the people of Tucson are going to be the ones that are going to provide the information that's going to solve this investigation.
Yeah, and in that statement, she also...
I mean, this is the thing. Tucson isn't that big, right? Tucson's not that big. Somebody's got to know. I mean, this is not only a national story. This is an international story, worldwide. Yeah, people don't know her in Mexico. I mean, not everyone does, but damn, everyone in Tucson knows who Nancy Guthrie is, I would hope. How could you be in Tucson or around Tucson, or at least Arizona, and pretty much not know who Nancy Guthrie is at this point? I mean, if you are on the internet or on social media or watch the news in the last 2 months, hell, you've got to have seen Nancy or this photo or video, don't you think? Yes, someone knows that perp walk. Someone knows this face. Someone knows this build of this person. Kiki, thank you so much, my dear. Love you. Love you too, Miss Kiki. Thank you so much, my friend. Really appreciate you. Yeah, someone has to know. Someone around their contractor should know. Yeah. Well, if they were hired, which I do believe they was, they're not going to call and say, "Guess what? I hired him." And they're not going to call when you say, "Guess what? I did it." Yeah, but I mean, you're right, but I believe it's someone doubting themselves. God, that really looks like, you know, Sherman. We'll say the name Sherman. I don't know. Boy, that looks like Sherman, doesn't it? Look at that. Look at the way he walks. Look at that goatee. Look at those lips. He's always had that scar there, right? But they're doubting themselves. Someone's worked with this guy. Uh, someone's dated this guy. Uh, someone's got family, distant family, something with this guy. Or they're fearful. Maybe, but there's got to be someone. He walks like a Sherman. I don't know why I said Sherman. I was thinking of the Nutty Professor. Sherman, Sherman, Sherman.
Also specifically referenced January 11th, which
Right.
you and I have been talking about that for a while. I knew that the FBI was asking the neighbors about that date, but it had never really come out in an official way. Like she actually referenced that date in her statement, which is 3 weeks before the abduction. It's a weekend. How significant do you think it is that she's now referencing that date in officially in a Guthrie statement?
Well, because I think at first they weren't able to definitively say if it was the 11th, but a lot of my colleagues were saying, because my first thought was, hey, they loaded her up in the car and now he came back to the front porch to make sure he didn't leave anything because it was a bit of a struggle when they were getting out of there. Like did a phone fall out of his pocket, or it wouldn't be the first time that a phone has been
Yeah,
left at the
sandwich.
scene accidentally, or maybe a glove or anything along those lines. But if you look in the background, it was way too dark. And it was too dark because it wasn't the night of the full moon. That full moon was one of the most powerful full moons that we've had in a very, very long time. And it was a super moon, and it
There we go. And that's um kind of makes you wonder, did they do it on this super moon? Because sometimes when you have a super moon, or a full moon, you can see a lot more during the nighttime. I had a guinea pig named Sherman. Oh my God, Bonaboo, don't let our Joe, is he in here tonight? He's got all kinds of guinea pigs. He loves his guinea
was,
pigs.
I mean, it lit up. You could see in the background that you could see the light hitting on the night of her, that she was abducted. You could see the light hitting the ground behind the offender. There was the chance in my mind that the pixelation could have had something to do with that, or the camera, whatever, because you couldn't see the eye holes in the mask, or there's a lot of issues with that photo to begin with. But
Mm.
with it being dark in the background, it was considered by a couple of my colleagues that I really trust that it had to be a different night. And I was like, well, if it's a different night, man, that does kind of pull the family out of focus a little bit for me, because uh, the family isn't going to have to, um, they're not going to have to do recon missions and all this.
And that's a really good point, right? Like, if I mean the family, they're not going to have to continually go back to this house. They know about this house, right? But it does, like Maureen said, it does kind of make you pull back on the family a little bit. However, does it still doesn't mean that someone wasn't hired.
Other kind of stuff on our house. They know the house, unless it, so that was, but this was before the family was even cleared, as you well know. So I was thinking that just yanked him out of focus a little bit for me, or pulled him out of the frame a little bit.
Yeah, and I've heard that even without a timestamp, there's ways based on the moon and the lighting that the FBI can determine like a date even or a time frame, which is
If
interesting.
it's really clear.
Yeah.
But in a pixelated photo like that, nothing's
It-
really clear. You can't even
tell
tell,
in a pixelated photo
like the
that.
backpack looked light gray and it was actually black, I guess, or whatever, who knows? Well, it's just more than 50 days, man. I never thought we'd be this far out. But then I keep going back to the Corey Richins case. Everybody thought, she got away with murder, and it wasn't until a year later that they were able to really put a case together, because you only have one chance to charge someone with murder.
A year?
That's it. So you got to make it stick.
We're going
and
to
you
do
got to make
thing.
it right.
Hold on.
Yeah,
So whoever they have, if they
Gonna
have
do a poll.
anybody.
Just back to the February 11th, I think there was some confusion too, because we had sources telling us that this other picture was from a previous date, but the sheriff was pushing back. I don't know if you remember, the sheriff was then saying, that's not true. We have no way of knowing for sure. And then I would go back and check with our source, and they're like, no, it's definitely from a previous date. I'm like, why is the sheriff so, pushing back so hard on this? And now he's done another interview just within the last week where he has said, oh, actually, we do think it's from a previous date. Google told us that it was from the 11th, but then they came back and said, well, we can't be sure, but we still do think it's from a previous date. We think it's an important date. I'm just wondering, did his messaging, is that damaging in terms of trying to get this information out to the public and trying to get them to take a date seriously? Because here you have the Guthrie family now acknowledging it, but the sheriff for so long was saying no, everybody's wrong. We don't know why people.
Do you think this case will be solved? Put a 1 in chat if you think in the next month or so, a 2 in the chat in the next 6 months to a year, or 3, never.
People are saying that.
And it'll add it to the poll.
You're assuming people are listening to him. And at this point, I don't think that's the case, unfortunately. And I really hate to say that, because normally this is what we point to. We point to the press conferences. Whatever comes out of a press conference is golden. And it usually proves to be that way in court, when we watch trials afterwards. So I don't know. I honestly, if he said that, I didn't even hear him say that, because I don't pay attention anymore. And that's not good.
I've seen that in some of the comments too. People are starting to just not really take what he says.
You can't take
seriously,
what he says.
which I mean, technically is still in charge of the investigation.
You cannot take, in my opinion, what Nano says as anything, in my opinion, because he's been so fucking wishy-washy on everything, on absolutely everything. You know what I mean? Hey, Nerdy, good to see you, babe.
Yeah.
So it's not a good thing. Have you been following? I mean, there's a recall that's now starting to take shape where they want to get a special election to try and throw him out, essentially. And he was previously working in El Paso decades ago, and he left and then came on at the Pima County Sheriff's Office. This is the sheriff. But it turns out, I never talked about this, but a local reporter went back and got the records, and he had, kind of a shady history in El Paso Police. He was suspended 8 times, use of force issues, a variety of issues, and never told anybody about that in Pima County, allegedly. And even in a deposition.
By the way, for those of you that's following the case of Rex Humerman, he is expected to plead guilty in the next court hearing. And also Christopher Soto was found guilty on all 3 counts of capital unaliving on Savannah, Soto, and Matthew, and baby Fabian, by the way.
And when he was asked, have you ever been suspended before, he said no. And so now this has become a real issue, and it's become part of the recall. And there was even a board of supervisors meeting which is, the government agency that oversees the body that oversees Pima County, and they voted unanimously to look more into it. Your former law enforcement, does that concern you that he was asked specifically in a deposition, have you ever been suspended, and said no, when he had in fact been suspended 8 times?
Yes,
Yeah. The question is ever asked, have you ever been suspended? And he says no. And you've been suspended 8 times. Like, how do you don't get that wrong. You don't get that wrong. You've obviously was suspended 8 times and was made not to go into work several days.
disturbs me. But I have to also call out Pima County. I mean, if this guy, how long was he in El Paso as a police officer? Just a couple of years,
He
right?
was young. Yeah, he was in his 20s. And,
Yeah, so he was
very
only
long.
there a couple of years. He's suspended 8 times, all these different allegations, and no one in Pima County even bothered to find that out. Where's their due diligence?
That's
They can
true.
point fingers all they want.
That's true. That's absolutely true. She's absolutely right. Like, he's the sheriff there, and how did Pima County not check this guy's background? Like, how are you work for just a deputy a few years and are suspended 8 times, from gambling to officer involved pew-pewings.
They hired the person. When you're a police officer now, when you're trying to become a police officer, not only are you taking polygraph exams, they're looking at your background, they're looking at your school records from when you were in grade school. They interview everyone, like a teacher from grade school, teacher from middle school, teacher from high school, teacher from college. It is so rigid and so strict to become a police officer anywhere. That's how it is now. In many, many cases, these background investigations, even going back then, would have found all this stuff out. Pima County's got some
Explaining.
culpability here too.
Yeah.
They can't point everything at him. The fact that he lied under oath, absolutely, that's what's going to get him fired right now. That's going to get him fired. He's gone, in my opinion. He's going to be.
Yeah. His legacy is down the drain. It's down the drain. Like, why lie on that under oath?
Gone. But there's no way that this was a secret, that this guy had all these issues, all these problems in his jacket, as we call it, his file or whatever. This guy was well known to have all kinds of issues. Anyone that's suspended that much is just a problem child, which is why he had to leave. How did they not see any of that? It's dereliction on their part also.
And the union did another vote of no confidence, which they've done before, but this one was recent, like since the Nancy Guthrie investigation. There's
Right.
100 deputies in the union, and it was unanimous. So
It was unanimous with the deputies in the union. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, which is
Not the ones
98%.
that aren't union. Okay.
that's correct. But the majority, it's my understanding, the majority of the deputies are in the union.
Okay.
Does that say should we be disturbed by that?
Yeah, I mean that's another huge problem, a huge hurdle for him. It's going to be really hard. It's hard for a person to lead in a situation like that. And in a situation like that, I would expect the deputies, like I said before, they're working arm in arm, hand in hand with the FBI, and they may be not telling the sheriff everything because of situations like this. If he's a micromanager, which
That's a good point. That's a very good point, Maureen. Let's think about this. Maybe the FBI and the others, even the local sheriff's office there, maybe they're not even telling Nanos what's what now. Maybe they are just absolutely avoiding him, or making him feel like he's part of this investigation when he's really not? That's a very interesting point. I know a lot of people I've been reading comments. I want to know where he's gotten all of that money. Yeah, well, when the FBI was looking at him a few years ago, they said they didn't find anything uh, the way the money was spent, from what I understand. But I don't know. This could open up a lot more investigations that we just have no idea about right now. It's not just small things being late or foul attitude, it's major things. There was a lot of major things. I mean, well, this is the thing. It's not just from years ago, it's from now as well. You know what I mean? Like, think about all of the bullying. The guy came out and said, "Hey, I was bullied by nanos. He physically pushed me and stuff." You know what I mean? He said all of that. So, that's crazy. Oh my God, Southern Girl. Thank you so very, very much. That is so generous. Wow. Thank you, darling. You are amazing. You're an amazing. Thank you, darling. You're an amazing person. That is so generous of you, Southern Girl. I really, really do appreciate that. You are so very kind. Wow. Thank you, loves. Yes, yes. Very kind of you, my dear. Good to see you. Hopefully you and yours are well, my friend. Love you to pieces. Very kind, yeah. I don't know what to say when people do that. Thank you so much, love. Um, Nancy, yes, time to oh, he should have retired a long time ago, I think. Um, even like when he talks to like when he gets asked a really tough question, he'll start shaking. Like you can see the anger in him, right? It's bad. Bad, bad, bad.
You know,
Thank
that's
you,
what I'm
Southern
hearing, that
Girl.
he's a total
Appreciate you.
micromanager. Nobody likes working for a micromanager, especially in a big case. Big cases are hard enough as it is. The
She's
last
so
thing you
right.
need is some micromanager breathing down your neck.
Yeah,
But
place
I don't think he's going to survive this. This is what in the business, this is what we call an unsurvivable.
he is elected though. I mean, they can't just fire him. I mean, there has to be a huge process here. You know what I mean? It's not like with a police chief where it's like the city
Oh,
council
but lying under oath,
that comes back to get you, huh?
yeah, that's going to be real
Lying
hard.
under oath.
I was just thinking, I've had jobs before where they'll send out these anonymous surveys and you can kind of like talk about how happy you are and what you think about your boss. And I'm always like nervous to really, like, I never trust those things. I'm always like,
I don't either.
they're going to know who said what, but I'm just thinking about these deputies. I mean, for all of them to vote no confidence.
Brian's so funny there. Oh my God. Brian, he turns red so easy. He's like, no, they're gonna find out. I am sketch with those things. I don't think
And
so.
then you have to work there and this is your boss and you probably have to talk to the man. It must be kind of awkward.
Yeah, it is awkward. We used to have in the Bureau, they would say that these are anonymous surveys. But how long have you been in the Bureau? What division do you work in? All this other stuff. We're like, if you say you're in 22 years and you're in the
Hey,
Los
mommy, go
Angeles
here.
division, there aren't that many of us that have been in the that have 22 years in law. It's easy to figure out is what I'm saying. So we were always very cautious too. But then the inspectors would come face to face. And these inspectors one time, it was one of the few bosses I couldn't take this person. But they said, you have to be able to say something. I said, I'm not saying anything. I'm just not going to, Maureen, I cannot fill this out without, you have to tell me something. And I was like, okay, he's clean shaven. I mean, that's all I can think to say. And he's like,
Oh my
you're not making
God.
it easy on me. But so they try to get that from us. It just, what early on in my career,
We all have that person that, you just really don't like, and it's like, what good can you say about them? You know what I mean? And you're like, well, clean shaven.
it didn't seem
So
to make much
funny.
difference. But I have to say that as time went on, they apparently did start listening to people, and it did make a difference. So that's always good. And I really started seeing these things shape opinions later on in my career, which I think is good. And it looks like that may be what's happening here. But he's got all kinds of hurdles, all kinds of problems, all kinds of issues, all coming together at one time. It's a storm, and he may not make it out.
At the end of the day, though, do you think, even if he's got all these issues, and it seems pretty clear that he does now with some of the stuff that we're seeing, do you think it's impacted the Nancy Guthrie investigation? I mean, do you think we'd still be here day 50 plus
Yeah,
if he didn't have these issues?
I want to hear this.
I think the initial issue with the crime scene is going to go down as a problem. And I'm not.
What did I say earlier? I said, I believe that Nanos made this incredibly difficult and delayed this case when it comes to the fact of him having a chip on his shoulder with the FBI, with him not giving the FBI, giving the cold shoulder for 2 or 3 weeks, with him sending things to. And by the way, it was not only the lab in Florida. He was sending things allegedly to different labs, more than one lab, by the way. Why not give it to the FBI? They can turn it around faster than anybody else. And they got to test it for their own self, regardless. The FBI won't go on anybody else's results. They have to test it for themselves.
Throwing any shade at crime scene techs from the Pima County Sheriff's Office. These people have to do extraordinary work in terrible conditions with very few people doing the actual work, and it's not easy work. It's really it's mind work. It's you have to be theorizing about things. You have to make sure you're doing the right thing, the right technique at the right time. And sometimes there's 2 or 3 techniques that you can apply to get DNA, let's say, for example, but you have to put them in order so that one doesn't jeopardize the next and the third one, if that makes any sense. So I think the crime scene thing at the beginning is going to end up being a problem for the investigation, and it's going to be a problem for the prosecution if, in fact, if it ever comes to that.
And I hope they play Sheriff Nanos saying, "We'll let the courts worry about that."
I don't know.
I was listening to and he won't. I've tried to get interviews with him lately and haven't had much luck. It seems like he does them with NBC, and I'm guessing that's because of sort of the Savannah connection. And they haven't really asked him anything from what I can tell about some of these issues that he's dealing with. But in one of the interviews, and he did a radio interview, and I listened to them all really carefully because he says little things sometimes that it almost feels like kind of slip out, So I'm trying to see if there's anything new.
Let me find that.
And in one of the more recent ones, he said something about the DNA, and he still had hope in the DNA, and that there were 2 labs working on it, which I thought was interesting because I remembered that it just went to the Florida lab. So it made me wonder, is there now a second lab? Because you remember they were having issues. The DNA was.
Yep.
I've not seen this part. From what I understand, there was something that came back in the last 3 or 4 days. I've heard that some new results. They haven't made this public with the news, but I have heard that there was something in the last 3 or 4 days. Something came back from a lab. So I don't know what Brian's going to say here.
So maybe they've sent it to another lab that, specializes more in the genetic genealogy, something like that. But that stood out to me, and that he still brought the DNA up. So,
well, they could have done something else when they put that tent up around the front door.
Yeah.
They could have done some type of DNA on the clamp that holds up the Nest camera. They could have done tape lifting on that front mat. They could have, done fingerprints or something, some kind of swabbing on the doorknob, door handle. Who knows? I don't know.
So
Were
maybe
you guys able to get in the backyard when people went in the backyard?
No.
Like if you had so they could have done something with the back door also, which now we know it was the back door that was the point of entry, right? Is that correct?
There's some reporting out there. Yeah, I haven't been able to confirm that, but I've heard others report it. It wouldn't surprise me based on what you and I have talked about, and when you talked about the security door in the front. And
yeah, there's no getting through that without leaving a mark.
Yeah.
You can't.
And if it's in fact true, and again, I don't have this reporting, but I've heard other people talk about it, that she's left her doors open. I mean, just being in that neighborhood for so long, working there, reporting there and talking to neighbors, I think a lot of people left their doors open. I mean, it's quiet, and she's lived there since the 70s. I know nobody should do that, but that doesn't really.
Yeah, but can't you hear the scary music in the background?
Yeah.
Oh my God, when people.
I know, but it's like,
sometimes it's the simplest solution that is the difference between being safe and something like this.
Yeah. One other thing I was looking at.
Okay, I want to play this right here real quick. Speaking of Sheriff Doofy, listen to this. He was on a recent radio
Thank you
station.
for continuing to pray without Annie, and of things that stand out to me.
He was on a recent radio station, and it was an AM station. Listen to this. Let me find it. Of him. Here we go. I think it's right here.
So that means, and we've talked.
Oh, wait, come here. Why is it not going? Okay.
The chicken, will love it. The new slipper you're eating them radio station in Tucson, KVOIA AM 1030. The reason I was so interested in this is because the sheriff hasn't been giving a lot of national interviews. I've been trying to get interviews with him. He's given some to NBC, which I think is just because that's where Savannah Guthrie works.
Not usually. That's probably why he did.
And he's given, some local TV interviews, but not a lot of national interviews, not a lot of tough interviews. But with this KVOIA AM radio interview, it just felt more like he had his guard down.
Listen to this. It's very interesting.
Sometimes. Maybe he had a relationship with the radio station. Maybe he had a relationship with the people asking the questions. I don't know. But it was a longer form interview. And again, to me, it felt like he didn't have his guard up. So I wanted to play for you some of the key moments during this interview that I thought were the most interesting. And the first part.
And I tried to find this interview on the AM station. Like it was saved. I don't know how he got this. I tried
where
to find
the
it
hosts
everywhere.
are sort of, seems like joking a little bit about the national media. There was the New York Post got shots of Sheriff Nanos in his convertible with the top down, and did a story about him driving around in his convertible and going to the gym, trying to make the point that, maybe he's not working hard enough on the investigation. Look, I mean, I'm sure at this point he has a right to still go to the gym. He has a Corvette. Make of that what you want, but they kind of actually is
shot of you
and what he thinks about some of the tips coming in. So listen to this.
Got a great shot of you with the top down with the Corvette. You're looking sporty there in that shot. So I mean, they've been all over this, of course, the Post, and as have media from around the world. Absolutely. I've gotten tips as far away as Prague, really, Australia, and just people calling in with their theories or ideas and thoughts, and so then they continue to call, and that's a good thing.
He's saying he's got it from Prague.
Discourage people from not calling.
Sheriff Nanos, you are a Prague.
But sometimes it just it gets a little bit much, but it's okay. I want them to call us. All right, two-part question. Anything you would have done differently in this investigation?
Listen.
Second part, do you think we'll ever know what happened to Nancy Guthrie? Nothing different. I mean, I wish there was something I could do different.
He would have done nothing differently, guys. Sheriff Doofy would have done nothing differently. Can you... I wanted to come through the screen when I heard this.
Would have produced better results, but no, you know, I think we started off today, you start off that I'm the lead investigator on this case. I hope that the community, the public understands that I'm not the investigator at all on this case. I have a team, a very qualified team of individuals.
He's not the investigator on this case. He has a team. You are the fucking sheriff, dude.
Would have been a better way to characterize. I might be
He's throwing him under the bus.
might be in charge of the department that's handling this case. Managing. I get briefed by my investigators. My role really is to protect them and keep them. But you're not yourself investigating. Oh, no. Those years are long past me, trust me. But the reality is I have a team, a very qualified team.
You believe it?
I think they had 13 homicides last year. Every one of them solved. Some very difficult homicides. Every one of them.
13 homicides last year, all of them was solved.
Every homicide in our jurisdiction were solved. Oh, I didn't know they have a very high clearance rate.
So two things that stood out to me there. First of all, that he basically is saying he doesn't think he made any mistakes, or that the office made any mistakes, and that he stands by the way that they've conducted the investigation so far. I thought that was interesting because earlier on in one of the earlier interviews, he sort of admitted that he thought that they cleared the crime scene too soon, and that if he could go back and do that again, he may.
Yes, he said probably wouldn't have cleared the crime scene within the first 48 hours. But now he says, nope, nothing here.
May not have done that because remember, they investigated. She went missing on a Sunday. They looked in the house, they investigated, and then they all left. There wasn't even a sheriff's deputy outside. You know, I got there and we were able to go get the blood on the front step. There was no one guarding the house. The investigation, it looked like, was done. Then.
Yes. And then you remember when they sent FBI back and we were all like, holy shit, something's breaking here. The FBI's coming back. Like, what's going on here?
And they came back out, realized that they shouldn't have cleared the scene, apparently, made another crime scene. FBI came in, did more evidence processing, but there's been criticism of the sheriff. Did your department clear the scene too soon? And early on, he said, yes, that may have been a mistake, but it seems like now he's saying, I haven't made any mistakes. I don't take back anything, which you hear him say, oh, I'm actually, I'm not the investigator on this. I haven't done that in a long time. He goes on to talk about whether or not he thinks the case will ever be solved. Listen to this.
What about, are we going to know what happened here eventually? I believe we will, yes. I have full faith in my team's ability. We're working with the FBI. We're working with...
You're working with the FBI after 3 weeks of allegedly not working with the FBI.
Several labs around the country.
Several labs. Okay, I'm going to try not to cuss. I'm really going to try not to cuss here. You should have given it to the FBI. One lab, faster than anybody. Why? Why? At no cost to you. It would have been no cost to his county. It would have been even no cost to his county, the taxpayer, had they have just given it to the FBI. But no, multiple labs.
Country on this. We're working with forensics examiners of digital video media. There's just a lot going on. Not a cold case, not even close.
So the sheriff made pretty clear.
Not even close to a cold case.
that he does not believe it's a cold case. I actually agree with him based on what I know from
I don't think
sources
it's a
that
cold
I
case either,
have.
but
You know, I don't think I would characterize this as a cold case. Do I think that they are about to make an arrest and the thing is about to break open? No. But are they making progress? Yes. Are they still out pounding the pavement? Yes. Are they waiting on DNA results that could still break open the case? Yes. To me, a cold case is when, you know, they've pretty much exhausted everything and things are sort of at a standstill. And I don't get the sense that that is what is happening with the Nancy Guthrie case right now. Maybe
exactly.
at some point it will be. I don't get the sense that that's the case right now. And I'll just say on the record again, based on everything that I know, I think they are going to solve this case.
I do too.
I think either the DNA evidence is going to come through or there's going to be some kind of lucky
Genealogy.
break. When that happens, I don't know, but I do
Or genealogy. Genealogy will solve this if nothing else.
think it's going to happen. Something else interesting in this next part of the interview, I'm going
He
to play
thinks
for
he
you. He
does.
talks about
He thinks he
like
does.
his opinions when it comes to the case. Because remember, in the past, when he's talked about the case, he's kind of changed little facts here and there, which people have been critical of. And then he'll say, well, people are hanging on my every word. And he sort of differentiates some of the thoughts he has about the case versus the facts that his investigators have. And he explains, which is not.
I think you want to know my opinion on it. He's got a chip on his shoulder from when they investigated him a couple of years back. That's my opinion.
Again, not something I've really seen with other police chiefs or sheriffs. Usually they're pretty buttoned up. But he tries to explain that in this part of the interview. And again, what I liked about this interview is it's so casual that I think we're kind of seeing another side of the sheriff. And some of it is pretty eye-opening. So listen to this part.
Without getting into the case itself, when I tell you that I believe this occurred or that occurred, that is my opinion. That's all that is. By other individuals in the case are investigators. They too have.
I've never heard of a sheriff. I've never heard of a sheriff of giving his opinion on a case. They usually hate opinions, talking about opinions. It's either the facts or the evidence, right? They never talk about my opinion. They don't like opinions. It is for a sheriff. The public talks about their opinions because we don't know. And he's talking about other people's opinions, other investigators' opinions. No, we don't need opinions.
Their thoughts and ideas and opinions. And I'm never going to set them down and say, no, that's not right or that's wrong. The case will get us there. We let the evidence show us the way. And that's what we base everything on.
You're trying to save your ass right there. You just talked about opinions and then you said we let everything. Well, then that's not an opinion.
Right now, everything is speculative. We don't have anything in front of us that says, this is who did this and this is why.
There you go. Right now, everything is speculative. We don't have anything in front of us that says this is who did this and this is why. But yet, he said on another interview that he did that almost since day one, we've kind of known why someone did this. That points us in a direction.
So, I get it.
I really wonder, I'm like, is he really this dense or does he have a health problem with his mind? Like, what is it?
Things are said, sometimes they're taken out of context. It really is, though, this case is a case that is probably unlike any case we've seen in years in Tucson. The closest I can come to it would be the Cialis girl. She was kidnapped, taken out of her bedroom. I think you recall the family, the father specifically, really went through a lot in that case, and it unjustifiably so.
And Tim, you actually posted about that case.
Yeah, about that case. But it took 10 years to get resolution on that.
So when you hear him talk about the Celis case, that's actually, it's just a tragic case from Tucson. I just wanted to tell you guys about real quick because he referenced it. It was a little girl, Isabel Celis, who was kidnapped and killed. And this was back in 2012. That's why he's saying, it took 10 years to solve that case. He's kind of comparing it to the Nancy Guthrie case. There was a man convicted of killing the 6-year-old Tucson girl. Her body was found years later in a remote desert area.
Oh my God. I hope it doesn't take 10 years. It took 10 years to solve this case. I really hope it doesn't take 10 years for this.
Again, it took almost a decade. His name was Christopher Clements, the guy who was eventually sentenced. He always maintained his innocence, but there was a ton of evidence, and he was found guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and burglary in the death of a little girl. Again, Isabel Celis vanished from her parents' home in 2012. And you hear what the sheriff is talking about is that, the dad, Isabel's dad, I guess, apparently was sort of, dragged through the mud through this whole thing. It ended up having nothing to do with him. I don't know if he's making that comparison because of the Guthrie family, like Tommaso, there was all this internet chatter that he may have been involved in the Nancy Guthrie disappearance, Tommaso being Nancy's son-in-law. Of course, there's no evidence to support that. And the sheriff has put out a very clear statement saying that no one in the family is considered to be a suspect. So it's kind of interesting that he brought up that case. And the fact that that case took 10 years, hopefully this Nancy Guthrie case will not take 10 years. The sheriff also got some criticism because just within the last couple of weeks, he was asked, do you think that this person could strike again who did this to Nancy? And he said, absolutely, which took a lot of people off guard, especially because he had been saying that the case was targeted and then was saying basically he thought the person could strike again. I know the neighbors were really nervous about it. So they asked him about that in this radio interview. Take a listen.
Granted, you've noted that, there's crime in Tucson and around Tucson anyway, but what about the question of danger to the broader community? Yeah, yes, Tim, I understand. And to me, it would be silly as the leader of a large, don't worry about it. Just relax. This was the Guthrie family. No, that's not what we want to tell our community. And from a law enforcement perspective.
Well, it's either targeted or it's not, right? It's targeted toward Mrs. Guthrie or it's targeted toward elderly people. So if it's targeted, say it's targeted toward just the Guthrie family, or it's targeted toward elderly people, or it's everyone's fine. Just always be safe.
Anytime we want you to be safe, secure in your homes, locking your doors, paying attention to your surroundings. If you see something, say something. Just be safe.
Do you want to summarize then what is your theory? Why don't maybe that would be helpful?
No, I believe.
Can you share with it what is your theory of what happened? This is Chris Nanos, whatever.
What I would tell you is, I believe that Nancy Guthrie was removed from her home against her will. That is a kidnapping.
Against her will. Now, do you think she was alive, like against her will? Dementia, compromised, communication, scrambled, disjointed.
Beyond that, everything else is just. We'll see. We'll let the evidence take us there.
Or just
so again, still a little bit confusing, and I think frankly they just don't know the answer of whether it was actually targeted or whether if anyone else is at risk. So that might be why he's kind of dancing around that still. But again, I'll tell you, for people who live in the area, it's one of the things that they are feeling the most uncomfortable about is that the sheriff has kind of gone from saying it's targeted to saying, well, but at the same time, people should not.
I mean, can you imagine someone in your neighborhood that you wave at all the time, or that you walk past their, this sidewalk and you say hello to them, or you're friends with them and they go missing, they're taken out of their house against their will, either dead or alive, but regardless, violently, and they haven't been seen in nearly 2 months, and you are saying you essentially don't know if this is targeted or not? Like, do you have any answer? But then he says, "We kinda know why she was the subject of this since day one." Like, he is just a bag full of contradictions. You don't think the suspect's local, Kathy? I do. I think they're very local. My opinion, though. My whole neighborhood would be doing community searches. Can't the government remove the sheriff? He's hidden his background. Like Maureen was saying earlier, he lied on the stand under oath about him not ever having disciplinary actions when he had 8 in just a couple years. At the other sheriffs, when he was in El Paso, that's going to be enough.
Not let their guard down,
He's not going to be
this person could, in his words, absolutely strike again. So it's interesting to hear him talk about that. And you heard me talk at the beginning about of this episode about the photos, the photos from the front Google Nest camera, and the fact that the sheriff continues to say that they don't know that they're from different days, but that our sources are saying they are from different days. He talks about that in the interview too. Listen to this.
This photo of remember the photo we gave at the man.
Lori, that's a good point. I do think it's someone local to the area, because reportedly it's very hard to get a very hard area to get around at dark. People get lost driving because it's like a maze in the Catalina Hills. Very good points there, Lori. Just a few minutes ago, we was talking about, Maureen was talking to the effect of that, she believes, and I agree with her, that these photos of this suspect is from 2 different days, and one of them was whenever it was a supermoon, right? And I'm wondering if that's one of the reasons why they were out on a supermoon, because it is so dark in that area. Nancy is probably very, very close. She just, wherever she is, she's either, I mean, you don't know. I mean, sometimes they just dump them, and sometimes they are concealed. Sometimes they are buried, but I think she's pretty close there. It could be someone close, has since moved away. Whoever this is, I think that they're going to be acting different right after this
At
happened.
the front door with the backpack on. There's another photo of him without a backpack on. It was released the same day we released it all. And people speculated that they're 2 different times and 2 different days. And it went crazy. And what I told them was simply this: we have nothing in front of us. There's no time or date stamp on the photos that says those photos were taken at 2 different times.
So he's talking about the 2 different, the guy with, he's got the backpack on, and then there's the one without his backpack on. And he won't just come out and say, like, these are 2 different days. He'll just be like, "We don't have any timestamps." Look at the dude. It's 2 different times. You can tell the lighting is completely different. Yeah, he doesn't have his backpack on. He doesn't have his pew pew or anything like that. If you don't know, like, Nancy was taken. Okay, we got that video right. If you don't know Nancy was taken out before or after this video, if you don't even know that, you are screwed, dude.
So it would be irresponsible for me to say, yes, we think they're two different photos, 2 different days, 2 different. No, what we said was, here's the photos we have from the front door of that residence at that, what we believe is that time, because we know the camera is removed. So we're sharing with the public everything we can to say, identify this person.
So it is a little confusing again because we're getting conflicting information from the sheriff's office and then from our sources.
Hold on. What did he say right there about the cameras being moved? Is he acknowledging that at least?
Said was, here's the photos we have from the front door of that residence at that, what we believe is that time, because we know the camera is removed. So we're sharing with the public everything we can to say, identify this person.
So it is a little confusing again because we're getting conflicting information from the sheriff's office.
I'm glad he's acknowledging the cameras were moved. I'm glad he's at least acknowledging that.
And then from our sources about those photos, is it possible the sheriff just doesn't know everything the FBI knows? I guess that's a possibility, but that it's still strange that all this time later, there's kind of conflicting information coming out on the photos. It's interesting in the radio interview. Then the host actually asked him about his reputation, about how he's handled the case, about sort of what locals are saying about him in light of the national attention and so much criticism of how he's.
Listen to this. This guy kind of puts him to the fire, which I was surprised to see local.
The Guthrie case. Listen to this.
So many in this community are saying, well, look at the sheriff, the way he's handled this, and he didn't portray our community, and when you were on national TV in the right light. How do you take all this?
No, there's not. Love you,
I'm glad they throw rocks at me, not my team. Just do it. That's okay. Maybe I made him.
You are so cheesy, Nanos. I'm glad they throw rocks at me, not my team. I mean, don't you throw rocks at them, it seems?
Mistake. I told them, I'll be your bad guy. I'll be your villain. Boy, they took that literally. But that, because I've also got, the other day, I got a tip that said, I think it's Sacramento. Lady said I was at her house on January 4th at 11:30 in the evening.
Listen to this. You guys are going to fall out. You guys are going to fall out when you hear this. He says that someone is accusing him of being at their house, threatening someone in Sacramento. Listen to this.
Because I've also got, the other day, I got a tip that said, I think it's Sacramento. Lady said I was at her house on January 4th at 11:30 in the evening, threatening to kidnap her. And she has a picture of me in my uniform. And I'm just saying, I go, where do these guys get this stuff? But it's okay to say all those things, do all solving some crimes, but that doesn't mean we just share the whole case with you. Yeah. So yes, people say, oh, look, he's talking and he's not telling us anything. He knows something.
You can't even share what you want to say with us. You can't even share that because you don't even say something consistent.
Yes, I know a lot, but I'm not going to share that with the public. It is about protecting integrity.
So it does make sense when he.
So he says he knows a lot. He says he knows a lot about the case, but then just 5 minutes prior, he's saying that they virtually know shit.
He says, that they can't tell the public everything. Of course, that's the case. I mean, that's the case with every ongoing criminal investigation. And they shouldn't tell the public everything. And they shouldn't tell the media everything because you don't want to jeopardize the investigation. But I think what confuses people with the sheriff is this: there has been some mixed messaging since the beginning.
Exactly.
The story has changed a little bit. It continues to change a little bit. And I think that's the part that's confused people. And I thought this part was especially interesting given my job, but then he was asked about the national media, sort of the local media versus the national media, and who he thinks has been the most fair.
When I think of national media, I don't know how you do it. I think I've heard from media personalities that look at some of the media in a way that is like, they don't have the same code of ethics. They don't have the same education. That's always going to be the case. But to your point, your question, the main media has, and more importantly, my local media, they have been nothing but very professional, very courteous, and respectful.
Well, that's because local media has to work with you later.
Not just of my time, but my privacy as well.
Otherwise, they won't get any sources from
Well,
it.
the national media, beyond what we think of as national media, that's a different story.
So I'll just say on that point, I was in local news for most of my career. I started in Missouri, and then I worked in Savannah, Georgia, and then I worked down here in South Florida and Miami in local news, and then I went to News Nation and
I didn't know Brian worked in Savannah,
which I'm doing now. There's a different dynamic between local and national news, and I hate to say this, but I just want to be truthful with you guys. When you're in local news and you have to work with the same authorities all the time, so if you're a reporter in Miami and you have to talk to the sheriff every single day or every single week to get information for stories, you may not be as critical of the sheriff or of the police chief, because these are people you have to work with all of the time.
Exactly.
And if you're fair, you will still be critical at times. But overall, these are people that you sort of have to get along with at times, because they're feeding you information as a local reporter. And your life will become very difficult if you're on the crime beat and all of the sheriffs and police chiefs hate you. So typically local media is not as tough, at least in my experience, on local officials all the time, because there's this relationship there where they will feed out stories, and it's more difficult to be really, really critical of them all the time. With national media like me and like the other guys, we come into a place like Tucson and it's like, we're just going to report it like we see it. I mean, I don't need to be the sheriff's friend.
National media is going to be more critical.
That's not my goal in all of this. And look, when I was in local media, I didn't want to be their friend either, but I'm just telling you, it's a different dynamic, which I think he's kind of making that point when he says my local media. I mean, he seems to have a very close.
Can you imagine being critical to Sheriff Nanos being a local reporter? He's not going to give you shit. He's not going to give any of the press nothing. Because let's be honest with you, people in law enforcement talk. That's how reporters get what they get. It's off the record. It's not supposed to happen, but it does. And they have to have confidence in you. But that's how it gets out. Nanos is a bully, in my opinion. So crazy. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for me tonight. I think. I don't know about this guy, man. I don't know. I really think Savannah and them will have a lot to say once this is all said and done. With the sheriff, I think they're trying to play it cool right now, just trying to find answers with them. We'll see. Oh, you're late, Mary. It's okay, darling. It's okay. Yeah. All right, guys, get some rest. I will see you guys, Lord willing, tomorrow. If anything breaks in the meantime, I'll be here. You guys are all amazing rock stars, and I appreciate you very, very much. Take good care of yourself. You only get so many trips around the sun. Good night, everyone.